Dr. Anthony N. Sabga, Chairman of the ANSA Foundation and Patron of the Awards, and Mrs. Minerva Sabga, Dr. Sridath Ramphal, Chairman of the Regional Eminent Persons Selection Panel, Lady Ramphal, and other members of the panel and their spouses. 2015 laureates, Dr. Paloma Mohammed Martin, Mr. Herbert Samuel, Professor Patrick Hossain, and Professor Suresh Narayan. Mr. Norman Sabga, Chairman and Chief Executive of the ANSA Macau Group, and Mrs. Alma Sabga, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Laureate, the Very Reverend Monsignor Gregory Ramkissoon, country nominating committee chairs and members, ANSA Macau Parent Board and Executive Directors, ANSA Macau Foundation Directors, standing laureates of prior years, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to you all. I am Nayat Lee, and it is my distinct privilege to welcome you to the 2015 Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence Award ceremony. This is a very special occasion in many ways. In addition to celebrating our first decade and welcoming laureates into our college, we are also introducing a new category, entrepreneurship. You will hear more about this as the evening progresses. I now invite Sir Sridath Ramphal, Chairman of the Caribbean Awards Regional Eminent Persons Panel, to address us.
This is the 10th anniversary of the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence. I am the third chairman of the independent panel that makes the ultimate selection. The founding documents and the Master of Ceremonies describe us as the Eminent Persons Panel, the EPP. But we make the awards possible from nominees put forward by the country nominating committees, who are therefore integral to our work and to our selections, and whose presiding officers are here with us this evening. On this, our 10th birthday, I want to acknowledge briefly the provenance of these awards. First of all, my predecessors as chairman of the EPP, Sir Ellis Clark and Mr. Michael Mansour, men whose leadership established the standing of the awards as a mark of Caribbean excellence. I invite you to acknowledge their contributions. Their colleagues, the members of the panel, and all associated with the awards, invite your respectful remembrance of those pioneering efforts as we reach this milestone. And so, too, should be recalled the sterling service rendered by the country nominating committees over the last 10 years, and indeed all associated in the region with their manifold and largely unseen efforts. Essential to all this has been the ANSA Macau Foundation, under the chairmanship of Dr. Anthony N. Sabga, and the program office of the awards, led by its director, Mrs. Maria Superville Nielsen. with my colleagues on the EPP, who are all here tonight, I invite you to acknowledge the superior quality of these efforts that have brought us together here at this moment. Last year, as the awards approached their 10th anniversary, the Foundation added to the categories of excellence, as you have just heard, categories to be recognized by the awards, that of entrepreneurship. And it has been reflected in tonight's awards. It also reinforced the basic objective of the awards to honor not lifetime achievements, and there have wonderfully in this region been plenty of that, but excellence in its prime between roughly 35 to 55 years, the recognition of which at that moment of peak may itself help to further the gifts of their work to our region. You will recognize that we have not this year made an award in the category of public and civic contributions. This is not because such contributions are scarce in our region. On the contrary, they proliferate. It is because by their own worthiness, they have lifted the bar of excellence to ever higher levels. Attaining those levels must continue to be the hallmark of these awards. As I emphasized in my introduction to a publication which will come to you that commemorates this anniversary, striving for excellence is nothing new to the Caribbean. It never was enough for our people simply to get by. Since our deepest roots lay in conditions of deprivation from which it was compelling to escape, the urge to excel is the very essence of that compulsion for self-improvement. With betterment as the driving force of Caribbean civilization, excellence had to be the ultimate goal of our most ardent endeavors. In no society, of course, is it given to all to reach that goal. But our Caribbean culture of striving ever upward makes the attainment of excellence in any quarter an achievement in which all our community shares. It is a regional achievement in its truest sense. Within our small community of the Caribbean, the attainment of excellence in manifold areas of activity has been quite phenomenal. But we have not always acknowledged it in public ways, in ways that would further such effort itself. We have long needed to do more through recognition and reward to enhance the culture of excellence itself. So, beyond this hall and this moment, we must all take satisfaction in Caribbean excellence as honored by these awards over the last 10 years. Awards so well symbolized in the first awardee, Monsignor Gregory Ramkesoon of Jamaica, who is here with us tonight and from whom you will hear directly. Over those years, and in tonight's awardees, the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence have identified men and women of our region in their prime, who by the standards of excellence they attained in the fields of arts and letters, of science and technology, and now of entrepreneurs, have entitled the Caribbean to be proud of our human resources. By their standards of excellence, they have set the bar of achievement and of service at levels that are high even beyond our region. We do not fail as a region at self-denigration when we stumble. We must not fail to recognize high attainments when they are reached, particularly when they are reached out of the limelight. Above all, we must not believe that the highest of human attainment is beyond our capacity. These awards, I'm sure you will agree, testify that they are within our reach, within the reach of all our Caribbean people. Let us, therefore, salute those who have excelled. Thank you.
To acknowledge our 10th anniversary, we now invite one of our very first laureates, the Very Reverend Monsignor Gregory Ramkesoon of Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago. He was awarded the Public and Civic Contributions Prize in 2006, and he will now address us.
Good evening, all. First of all, I'd like to thank the ANSA Foundation for allowing me the opportunity to share some thoughts with you on this most auspicious occasion. Congratulations to all our laureates, Dr. Paloma Mohammed of Guyana, Mr. Herbert Samuel of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Professor Suresh Narayan of Guyana, and Professor Patrick Hussein of Trinidad and Tobago. Time certainly flies. This is the 10th award ceremony, and it seems as though it was just a few years ago I was honored by the ANSA Foundation for our work. At that time, I wondered about the usefulness of such an award, notwithstanding, of course, the monetary benefit. Since then, I have seen and believed in the long-term reach of the vision of Dr. Anthony Sabga and his team in this foundation. As I understand it, these awards were meant to honor those who have excelled in their varying fields of endeavor and to bolster and support efforts of the awardees in their respective fields. They're not lifetime achievement awards per se, but instead were meant to provide an incentive both personal and financial to the beneficiary, so that his or her work can continue in full throttle, so to speak, and to encourage others to take on the passing baton. I could have done three things with the money and the recognition gained by this award. One, I could have taken the money as a personal recognition for the work done thus far, put it in my pocket, and go to the Far East for a holiday. Full stop. But where would that have put me? I could have seen the award, though, as a springboard to do many other things related to what was already done. In part, I chose this path. I used the recognition and the money to expand our work in the countries in which we serve. Using the seed money for proposals, grants, etc., we started our 14th home in Jamaica for children. If you permit me a little time, I will just... And because of a quarter of that money we got, we called the home Gift of Hope. And you know why? I'll give you a story. We were called by a social worker in St. Mary, that's a parish in Jamaica, and a house was boarded up. And there was a child inside there, and they were trying to get into the house. So one of our women went in with some guys, and they saw a 5-year-old child feeding his mother water. There's nothing too exciting about that. However, they discovered that the mother was dead for 5 days. She died from HIV/AIDS. And this child had HIV/AIDS. This money, as I got back to Jamaica, I was immediately able to spend the equivalent of $20,000 to start a home, our third home, for kids with HIV/AIDS. And we called it the Gift of Hope. We were also able to start more farming programs in Zimbabwe, in Africa. The money was also used to help our sister organization, which we started, called Christ in the Garbage Ministries, by working with children living on the garbage heaps in Nicaragua and in Dominican Republic. Finally, we used some of the funds to train people from these countries in Jamaica, and Jamaicans, of course, in the methods and principles of setting up and monitoring standards must-seed communities in different countries. In my opinion, excellence is born internally, nurtured by external factors, and will reach its maturity when it serves the greater good. What I know of these awards, the people chosen have all proven themselves that this concept of excellence can be legitimately proven. I have kept track of some of the men and women who have been chosen over the years, and I'm here to testify that they have all been portraying excellence in their respective fields. And this we may wish to remember what Vince Lombardi once said: perfection may not be attainable, but if we chase perfection, we may arrive at excellence. To the laureates then, this is the right time to start thinking of how this occasion may be used for the advancements of your particular area of interest, be it scientific research, entrepreneurship, or the arts. In my humble opinion, the recognition derived from this award can be used in much of the same way that we use ours. Right now, the Caribbean nations are going through very challenging times economically, socially, and even culturally. We all know of the economic challenges faced by a large proportion of respective populations. From a social standpoint, we're experiencing in all our territories the creeping attack of criminal activities and the erosion of our social values. In all our territories, we see, not so obvious, but just as serious, the invisible hand of the World Wide Web that is also chipping away at our sound cultural practices and creative growth. We have been stopped in our tracks on the way to the structural transformation we dreamt of many moons ago. More than ever, we need leaders in every field of endeavor to get us back on this track, to continue the journey of self-determination. We can't put the full responsibility of persistent development or underdevelopment solely on the backs of the political elite. We all have to contribute in the creation of the engines of growth so that the yawning gap between the elite and the masses can be addressed in a timely manner. Politics aside, There aren't many institutions in the region that we could look for help in the business of advancing multiple strategies in the broader development agenda. Of course, there are institutions that help us get there in many different ways. But the ANSA McCall Foundation kills two birds with one stone. It both recognizes excellence in different fields and at the same time encourages the excellence through grants and continued follow-up to foster maturity along the same continuum started by the person in their respective fields. This evening is about the awardees. When I look at the caliber of persons chosen for these awards, not only this year, but since the inception of the event, I am truly amazed at what we have achieved in the English-speaking Caribbean. Dr. Mohammed, with her blending of academics and the arts, will no doubt continue to show the way forward for the strengthening of our cultural traditions among our young people especially. As mentioned earlier, our culture is under attack, and what better place to start than fixing this but to recognize the problem and to take it from there. As Ito said once, most creative work is a process of people passing ideas and inspiration from the past into the future and adding their own creativity along the way. Mr. Samuel, what good can come from the Grenadines? What good can come from Galilee? This Easter season, we all recognize this phrase. But we may never know. St. Vincent and the Grenadines may in the future become the only island in the world totally changed by solar energy and by universal alternative energy practices, and become that sterling example to the rest of the world in its way. We're all behind you when it comes to using alternative energy and cutting the cost to beneficiaries, especially the poor and the vulnerable. Professor Narayan, there are many things you have done to advance the cause of applied science, and bringing this to the Caribbean is a testament to the great deposit of knowledge and expertise we have in the English-speaking Caribbean. Indeed, we're in a well-placed position to positively affect the world in terms of our discovery and application of new ways of using technology in reference to the physical and chemical sciences. Keep going, sir. And finally, Professor Hussein, we continue to need people of competence in the area in which you find yourself, not only in the next few years, but indeed the next few generations. I hope this honor and the money that comes from it will take you further along that line that you have charted out for yourself and for our region as a whole. All in all, we have over the years spotted talent in different fields which will not be left to get stale and stunted. With the increasing use of these talents to broaden and widen our social and technical capital, we'll be in a good position to make an impact not only regionally, but increasingly so on the intellectual level and the international level. Indeed, as Gandhi once put it, we can be the change we want the world to be. And also, he said, what you speak so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. I add to this by asking each one of us here tonight, as we honor you and we encourage you, don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant. I am indeed proud to be in the company of such men and women. Indeed, in this whole company. We salute you and we thank you. And I exhort you to explore, discover, dream. Thank you very
much. We've now come to the principal part of the evening's proceedings, the presentation of awards to the laureates. To do this, I invite Sir Sridath Ramphal, Chairman of the Regional Eminent Persons Panel, and Mr. Norman Sabga, Chairman and Chief Executive of the ANSA McCall Group. We begin with Dr. Paloma Mohammed Martin. She is a poet, a playwright, and filmmaker. She is recognized as one of the most influential figures in the Guyanese and Caribbean cultural landscapes.
Fellow laureates, dignitaries, special invitees, ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from the sleeping giant of the Caribbean, the bumptious and lush Guyana. Guyana, my lovely native land that I love. I was born there, but raised by this region. Today I stand here humbled by this moment and truly thankful for this Caribbean. Sublime moments such as these cause us to reflect deeply. In reflecting, we understand how fortunate we are to be chosen from among so many deserving others. Today's artists inhabit a world in which support for the arts is dwindling. Those in the Caribbean, especially young creative people, are generally without platforms from which to launch, without successful indigenous role models and mentors, without supportive structures and training opportunities, without links to business, without substantive documentation of successful cases, without respectful, non-exploitative engagements which enable them to live dignified and fruitful lives. I am often saddened and deeply disturbed by the misunderstanding that the arts are not important. I want nothing more than to see this erroneous perception and the poor conditions it engenders for artists change for the better. For me, this award is less about what I can do for myself and more about what it can help others to achieve. So, in accepting this award, I do so in homage to all those artists who have not stood here. Thank you for what you do. It is a special thing when a company throws its weight behind changing the conditions I just described with an initiative such as the Sabbath Award. Here, things are not done in platitudes, but with substantive support. This in itself is something to celebrate. Dr. Anthony N. Sabga, his family and foundation have demonstrated, like Guyana has done with the Guyana Prize, the Caribbean Press, and Cine Guyana, that tangible support of the arts pays exponential dividends if allowed to blossom in freedom and if managed judiciously. I therefore salute the family and the foundation for their vision and generosity. Thank you. And I want to challenge other mega businesses in this region to join this movement. If one business can do it, surely others can too. The chairs of the Regional Eminent Persons Panel and the Guyana Selection Committee, the irrepressible Sir Shridat Ramphal and Dr. Sita Roth and their members have demonstrated their own commitment to excellence in their lives and work. They have, with their laureate choices over these 10 years, not only celebrated but validated the Caribbean presence on the planet. I never cease to be amazed at what people from this special space have been able to do. And I feel particularly honored to be joining these esteemed ranks as the first woman laureate in 10 years for arts and letters, for leading the process of transforming the way we see ourselves. I thank you, selection panels. People like me always know we have work to do, but we never expect it to be noticed beyond those who are impacted directly. My journey to this moment has been long and the investment great. And the truth is that though Guyana birthed me, Trinidad nurtured, and the Caribbean nourished me. I was profoundly influenced by Dr. Ephiba Wilkinson, Raw Gibbons, Aintu Springer, Norman Fullerton, and others from the Center for Creative Arts here in Trinidad, and Dr. Dennis Brown and Al Crichton of Jamaica. Beyond those, I thank all those who have trained, shared, worked with me, trusted, and supported me over these past 30 years. Throughout my life, I've received so much love and so many kindnesses that it is impossible to recount everyone who has supported my development. Today, I'm only able to refer to a precious few by name because of time constraints, but my memory for such things is good, and I assure you that I do remember you and all your past kindnesses. In this particular moment, though, I wish to pay homage to researcher Roxana and 4 special people for supporting my nomination with references. Professor Eddie Green, who has given his life to the service of others and who is still working assiduously against stigma and discrimination. Professor Vibert Cambridge, whose lifelong commitment to researching and documenting the vibrant cultural history of Guyana is monumental. Professor David Dabedine, most prolific prize-winning writer and an amazing intellect. Dr. Bruce Paddington, whose singular contribution to building a film industry in the region is incalculable and underappreciated. What can I do but to live up to your inspiring lives as my way of saying thank you? I also appreciate the absolute professionalism and patience of Dr. Raymond Ramcharatar and Ms. Maria Brenville of the Sabbath Foundation, and the love and support of close family and friends who are here or tuned in around the world. Thank you also to Dr. Mark Tumbridge and Beverly Reynolds, Jenny Hackett, Father Terence Monrose, Sisters Gloria Gray and Anne Bradshaw, and to my 2 mothers, Mary Fade Mohammed and Dorothy Smart, brothers, sisters, nieces, and nephews who will kill me if I don't mention them, but I have added a list in a written version which will be printed. But I must make mention here of my own beloved son, Shibaka, and the special enduring memory of his father, Professor Tony Martin, and of my niece Lily for her endurance in the last few months. Also, many thanks to Guyanese designers Denise Grant, Sonia Noel, and Nielsen Nurse for outfitting me for these awards. As I said, I've released a written version of the speech which lists all the names of people who I can't mention right now. In accepting the award, I contemplate the tremendous boon it presents to the projects upon which I work: Healing Arts for Children, the Theatre Guild, Cine Guyana, the University of Guyana's Endowment Fund, Moray House, and Just Off the Road, whose founders here with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, every day in my prayers, I ask God not to make me a liability, but to make me a light to the world. I truly feel that this award is a godsend to the work and his way of saying, "Here, child, go be my light." I therefore see this not as a moment of personal glory, but of regional affirmation, and I am truly thankful to all who support this work. May this prize and the laureate it creates continue to grow in stature and strength for another 100 years, and may the fruit of this bough be bounteous. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed Martin. Mr. Herbert Samuel is an energy consultant and entrepreneur who is confronting the issue of using finite energy resources in the face of the growing demands of development. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Herbert Samuel.
Sabga. Sir Sridhar Ramphal, Chair of the Eminent Persons Panel, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Good evening. It is with a deep sense of humility and appreciation that tonight I accept this Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Award for Excellence. I am truly humbled when I consider the stories of my fellow laureates, Dr. Paloma Mohammed, Professor Patrick Hossain, Dr. Suresh Narayan, and I am grateful that the program's selection committee has thought me worthy of standing in their company and in the company of those that have gone before us. My appreciation of this recognition and of this award is at two levels. On a personal level, I feel that I have been elevated to a great height, and for that, I am grateful. On a philosophical level, I suppose, I see this recognition as a vital about the value of entrepreneurship and innovation to the development of today's Caribbean society. I believe it is unfortunate that even in this 21st century, entrepreneurship, particularly where it involves innovation, is still under-recognized, undervalued, and therefore underrepresented in our region. And it is my sincere wish and my belief that this award will be a catalyst to change that and will be an inspiration to others like me. I wish to close by saying a few specific words of thanks. To the Anthony N. Sabga Foundation, thank you for this magnificent program of philanthropy on which you embarked 10 years ago. To the nomination and selection committees, thank you for seeing value in my journey, which I embarked on also several years ago. To my father Claude, who is here with us tonight, who ignited my curiosity by instilling a love for reading at an early age, I thank you. To my wife Sherry, who is also here with me tonight, who is constantly teaching me by example how to be a better person, thank you. Exactly 1 week ago today, I read the eulogy at my mother's funeral, and to Mom, looking down on us from above, I thank you for nurturing us all. And thanks finally be unto God, the Creator, who gives us life, grace, and hope for a better tomorrow. I thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Professor Patrick Hossain is a computer scientist, electrical engineer, and mathematician. He is the holder of 5 degrees from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, including electrical engineering and computer science. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium the first of our 2 laureates.
Dr. Anthony Sabga, Sir Sridhar Ramphal, fellow laureates, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. The Anthony Sabga Caribbean Award of Excellence is, without doubt, the most prestigious award of its kind in the Caribbean region. Tonight, I am honored to receive this award jointly in the Science and Technology category. I wish to thank Dr. Sabga and all committee members who volunteered their time towards the evaluation process. I have many people to thank for my achievements over the years. First and foremost, I wish to thank my parents, my father, the late Amizul Hussain, and my mother, Merle Hussain, who is in the audience. I love both of you, and I appreciate your dedication to me, as well as to my siblings, especially during the tough times. My mother happens to love technology, and so right now she's probably busy posting, texting, or tweeting on her iPhone right now. My siblings, my older sisters Jennifer, Margaret, and Deborah, and my younger brother Anthony must also be thanked for their love and support over the years. I am also lucky to have many relatives here and abroad who have always shown an interest in my career, and I wish to thank them all. 37 years ago, during my free year before starting university, I met a young woman, Deborah, who would eventually become my wife. We have been blessed with 2 wonderful children. My son, Nicholas, a brilliant PhD electrical and computer engineering student, and also a lecturer at University of California, Davis. And Patricia, an incredible singer, songwriter, and musician, also known by her stage name, Trishes. So please feel free to Google her. I wish to thank them for their support and understanding, especially during my many work-related trips. I am sure many of you are familiar with the butterfly effect, and I believe that this phenomenon also applies to our career paths, in that small, at the time, inconsequential events can have a profound positive or negative impact on one's career. I was fortunate in this respect by having some of the best educators who provided me with the right guidance during my childhood. I especially want to thank the late Mr. Steve Odit from the Cura Presbyterian School, and the late Fathers Laifuk and Valdez from St. Mary's College for their teaching, encouragement, and guidance. During my university life at MIT, I was similarly fortunate. I wish to thank the late Professor Amar Bose, who was a great mentor and friend. My MSc thesis supervisor, Professor Dimitri Batsikas, who taught me how to think like a mathematician. And my PhD thesis supervisor, Professor Michael Athens, who helped to mold me into an electrical engineer. I have also been fortunate to collaborate with some of the best researchers in their respective fields while working at various internationally renowned labs. I would just like to highlight a few individuals who were especially helpful in developing my career. Dr. William Short at Bose Corporation, Dr. Ronald Skoog at Bell Labs, Dr. Gagan Choudhury at AT&T Labs, Dr. Irfan Khan at Ericsson Communications, and Dr. Anthony Soong at Huawei. Finally, during my first return to Trinidad in the early 90s, Professor Kenneth Julian provided the resources that I needed to tinker with the then little-known thing called the internet. In recent times, several technologies have come together to revolutionize how we communicate, how we do business, and how education is provided to our children. These technologies include the internet, cellular networks, and broadband wired communications. Any of you can, right now, use your smartphone to broadcast this event to a worldwide audience because of the web and advances in wireless communications. We in the Caribbean now need to take the next step and use these technologies not only for entertainment and education, but also to create novel applications, services, and processes so that we can compete globally in this space. We have started mainly with web and mobile applications, for example, Herbert's application, but these are the low-hanging fruit. The next step, the development of novel services and processes, requires more in-depth expertise and of course, significant investment in advanced research. Google, for example, improved the process for searching content on the web, while Facebook improved the process for keeping in touch with friends and family. This required use of advanced mathematical, engineering, and computer science techniques, which are much more difficult to learn and understand than, for example, mobile application programming. So far, we seem to be underestimating what it will take to achieve what such companies have achieved. Hopefully, with the help of this award, I can help produce graduate students who can get us there where we need to be. So on that note, let me once again thank the ANSA McCall Caribbean Awards Foundation for choosing me for this award. Good night and God bless.
Thank you, Professor Hussain. Professor Suresh Narayan's work in Guyana and Canada has created a rare bridge between scientific research and commercial application. He is considered a global leader in his field. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Professor Narayan.
Dr. Anthony Sabga and Mrs. Sabga, Sir Sridhat Ramphal and Lady Ramphal, members of the eminent persons panel and their spouses, members of the country nominating committees, members of the Sabga family and the Sabga Foundation, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen all. A warm, friendly Caribbean good evening to you. Thank you for taking the time to be here this evening to celebrate this year's Sabga's laureates. Thank you for punctuating this important evening in our Caribbean archipelago with your presence and your support. This evening, to my mind, is about recognizing Caribbean potential, forging Caribbean identity, and celebrating Caribbean successes. But most of all, endorsing and watering the garden of Caribbean unity. And in so doing, we recognize the role that vision and selfless philanthropy play in enabling our region to be all it can be. I therefore, with admiration and a deep sense of gratitude, first of all thank Dr. Anthony N. Sabga for his leadership, his vision, and his love of all things Caribbean. You, sir, have been able to see above the throng to Caribbean horizons of prosperity, unity, and shared vision, and you have had the courage and the skill to create a lasting and pivotal mechanism to help achieve and celebrate these goals in the Caribbean Awards for Excellence. No civilization can effectively progress towards shared values without the celebration of positive role models. When I examine the laureates of Caribbean Awards of Excellence in past years, and also my fellow laureates this year, in addition to being humbled to be in their company, I am convinced that the Caribbean will continue to move from strength to strength in the pursuit of our cultural identity and its expressions, and a sustainable future of prosperity. Our world today faces a nexus of so-called wicked problems. collapse of the world's financial systems, dwindling fossil fuel resources, growing shortages of fresh water and food, climate change, and skilled labor. The Caribbean is particularly vulnerable to all of these issues. As all of you Caribbean folk know, the banana trees only have to hear the hurricane coming and them just lie down flat. To craft successful responses to these challenges, the Caribbean needs regional strategies which harnesses all of our collective resources. The countries whose citizens are eligible for the SABGA Awards contain scarcely 6 million souls. Are we to fulfill the ancient Zimbabwean prophecy, when the level of the water hole drops, the animals look at each other differently? We all remember Dr. Eric Williams's poignant mathematics. 1 from 10 leaves naught. Imagine we have a handful of countries with a collective marketplace of only 6 million, a shared language, shared heritage, shared cricket team, common culture, and facing common threats. But we have as many approaches to food security, science and technology, and security as we have countries. As we celebrate a few scant miles from the lapping waves of the Gulf of Paria, separating Trinidad and Tobago from the South American mainland and sister Caribbean country Guyana, CARICOM's net food import bill is more than a whopping $4.5 billion US. Right here in TNT, the food import bill is $950 million, second only to Jamaica, with a food import bill of close to $1 billion US. This region spends nearly $500 million on imported rice and sugar. Even as across the Gulf, Guyana struggles to find markets for its rice. The Jack Deo initiative in CARICOM on agriculture and food security has disappeared into the void created by a lack of regional leadership within CARICOM. And so, despite the demand, Guyana, Suriname, and Belize, with large tracts of arable land, significant freshwater resources, and low population densities, remain relatively undeveloped with regards to their vast agricultural potential. Our region receives less than 1% of the world's foreign direct investment, and other than for TNT and Suriname, has a crippling dependence on imported fuel. Yet, we do not have a regional strategy for alternative green sources of energy. The vast potential of hydropower in Suriname and Guyana could significantly benefit from regional investments and regional supply agreements for electricity, to the benefit of energy security for many of our Caribbean states. Science and technology and its potential for providing quantum improvements in well-being of Caribbean peoples is perhaps indisputable among our nations. Much more needs to be done in integrating the University of the West Indies, University of Guyana, Atom de Com, University of Technology, Jamaica, and University of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as our other colleges and universities across our region. There's an urgent need to share resources, remove fragmentation, and reduce duplication. In this regard, of course, the Caribbean Examinations Council stands as a living, successful example of embracing regional standards in education. There is an urgent need to promote a culture of scientific entrepreneurship and a concomitant and great need for the region to continue to improve the way we handle intellectual property. In my own efforts in Guyana, I have seen firsthand how important a tool science and technology can be in leapfrogging the developmental process. I firmly believe that our region's science and technology portfolio should be heavily focused on technology transfer and the harnessing of science and technology for development and well-being of our people. Even as we pursue technologies appropriate to our particular circumstances, critical mass cannot be accomplished without pooling our regional resources. The problem is not our individual peoples, who collaborate very naturally. I firmly contend that the problem resides with our political leadership lacking the political will to address this problem. I know I should have used these minutes to talk about my own career, but I think my own career is of lesser importance compared to the urgent need to continue to work towards true regional unity, shared strategies, and goals. In closing, I wish to gratefully accept this award on behalf of the staff of the Institute of Applied Science and Technology in Guyana and the many students, postdoctoral fellows, research associates, and collaborators who have contributed so incredibly to my own career. Of course, the influence of loved ones, family, and dear friends must not be forgotten. But you all know who you are, and you know I love you very much. To my dear sisters and my friends who are here, thank you for being here to share this with me. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your indulgence. Walk good.
Thank you, Professor Narayan. We are nearing the end of our evening, and I now invite Mrs. Maria Superville-Nielsen, the Program Director of the Anthony N. Sabga Caribbean Awards for Excellence, to formally close our proceedings.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and what a happy occasion this is. I cannot bring the evening to a close without expressing the gratitude of Dr. Anthony Sabga and the directors of the ANSA McCall Foundation to the many persons who have contributed to our ceremony, our Regional Eminent Persons panel headed by Sir Sridath, our country nominating committees headed by their chairs, our research supervisor Sky Hernandez, and our 5 researchers. Thank you for the work you have done, of which we can be proud. We have made the region a better place by pointing its attention in an immediate and tangible way to excellence in our midst. Thank you.